Welcome, one and all, folks, to the Fillmore Central Bond Vote live stream discussion, part 2. I am your King of Extreme, Phil, K.O.E. You can, of course, find me at K.O.E. Nation on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. And this evening, I am joined by my indomitable broadcast partner, the one, the only,
the Tony G, back here again for another Fillmore Central Public School Bond Initiative voting discussion, and we are really in the home stretch. Most, if not all, of the ballots have been mailed out. So now it's really just a matter of getting them filled out properly, which actually might be harder than it sounds, believe it or not. The ballot itself, not very hard to fill out. There's 2 ovals, yes or no, pretty simple, shaded in like normal. The envelope might get a little tricky. Look at the envelope. You got to fill some stuff out on the envelope, but get that back by March 11th, and it's just that simple.
Yes, so we are getting into this discussion because there was just another meeting on Sunday. But Tony and I, if you don't know, we are such savants of the world that our schedules are just so much so that this is as early as we could get to you. And this fine Friday night, I have my Spurgeon study Bible open, and I'm much like him having a cigar to the glory of God. And I've got right here, what'll start us off is Philippians chapter 1, verses 21 to 23. For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet I shall choose, I want not. For I am in the strait betwixt two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. Basically saying, if I stick around, I can help y'all. So, folks, that's what we're going to keep in mind tonight. If we stick around here in this community, let's help each other out. So, no matter who wins this, folks, keep in mind, no matter who wins, we're all going to be a town when it's all said and done. We're still going to be like T. I suspect you're probably a little bit more for than I am. And I'm probably
assume, yes.
And I'm probably a little more against than you are. But no matter what, you and I are still going to shop at the same Casey's, the same grocery store. We're still going to be, at the same. We're still going to be in the same community, no matter what happens.
It very much feels like if you only pay attention to social media, overreaction and outrage, it very much feels like a presidential election of 2 camps fighting over it. And I get it. I get the sentiment because this is actually impacting our
this is
small
real
community.
Politics.
Yeah, it's real politics. It's not the stage show that is the government and federal. So yeah, this is this impacts us all.
And let's be frank, before we get into the details and nitty gritty, and folks, your comments, drop them and we'll be sure to read them. Let's be frank, the farm community is kind of grumbling about it. Let's be frank, they're not
Absolutely.
all that happy about it.
Which is understandable because this impacts ag landowners the most. If you haven't already, you can go to the schoolbond.org, I believe, the exact website we can show you. But there's a calculator in there, and you can get a good estimation of what your taxes are going to look like if you haven't already. But like I said, we're kind of down to the wire at this point. So these are things, if you don't know, you should definitely know, but you should figure this out quick.
Yes. So T, the meeting that we had on Sunday, the school board meeting. First of all, our first comment needs to be noted. Jimmy Cuter, Freebird.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Freebird.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the meeting that happened on Sunday was a little bit of a rehash.
Yeah, if you went to the middle school, they kind of covered a lot of the same ground, but this was another chance for the community to come together and sit before the school board after the presentation and ask some questions about the direction of things, and we both got to do that as well. So it was, I mean, it's always helpful. I mean, transparency, like they've been talking about, is key, and this helps.
You know, I was actually listening to a debate actually just yesterday, and it was talking about how bad economic policy is built when the party just tells you what would happen with the government spending, but never points out or gives you any figures of what would happen absent that government spending. Okay. And that's
Right.
poor economic policy is generally crafted. And so I couldn't help but think, like, even though I'm not thrilled about the potential of a tax hike, the people on this board did actually give us a sound economic policy in the regard to they told us what would happen, and what wouldn't happen in regards to spending one way or the other. There we go. I was
Yeah.
going to get there eventually, T. I was going to get there eventually. So, was there anything new that you discovered in the Sunday meeting? We'll get into my question and such, but what was your question again?
So I asked, which I kind of already knew the answer. It was mostly just trying to open up kind of some thinking for people who might not have looked at this. I think because I I kind of had this vaguely asked to me. Why was the option of returning fifth and sixth back to the elementary and seventh and eighth back to the high school if we were going to do away with the Fairmont building? And the short answer there is that there's not room at the elementary school. There's just not. Given the student body now and the way it's set up, the outline of the building. If you're not familiar with the building itself, like they call it a spaceship. It's basically just a giant diamond with a rectangle on the bottom. It looks like the love child of the Millennium Falcon and the Starship Enterprise. Like, it's a
Yeah,
weird design.
the uh, the elementary school in terms of building, like, I'll at least give them credit that they were trying to do something better than bland modern architecture. But sometimes this is why you have to stop them. Okay, this is why you have to.
Yeah.
Um,
Trisha asks real quick, was there a tour of the school in Fairmont? Like, yes, there was after the meeting, and I don't know that a lot of people went. I believe there was one actually after the meeting at the middle school as well. We didn't do much in depth walking around, but talking to people who really never stood foot in the building, like there's a lot of there's a lot of issues, and that's a big part of the reason that if this doesn't pass, it's going to be so expensive to renovate, upgrade, and just meet code because the middle school, aside from the downtown gym, rates the lowest, and it's not even close from the sound of it. I mean, we're talking about bracing of walls that are starting to push in, uh, really bad spots on the roof where literally it could cave in. There's a lot of unused space. There's a lecture hall in the middle school, if you're not familiar, which gets used maybe a couple of times a year, and it's not really designed to where we can repurpose this thing. So again, like design wise, this it's more building centric, if that makes sense, than the elementary school. But like with the elementary school, we're very handcuffed, and I want to get into that more later in terms of what we can do with the elementary. But the problem is, the elementary is newer and has had more upgrades to keep it more current. So it's I don't want to say it's been more well maintained, but its livelihood still is definitely going to extend that of the middle school. And my other part of that question I asked, why if we can't return the 5 and 6 to the elementary and 7 8 to the high school, uh, regardless, like what is the longevity of the elementary building itself? And I don't know that we got a direct answer because how could you? It's impossible to have that. Of course, it's a
like
guesstimate.
a part of me is like, T, no, don't. don't bring up the elementary school, okay? Like, I mean, this is
Sorry,
already
you
too
got to.
painful. This is too
You
painful
got
for the
to.
boomers as is, and also like for the farmers too. It's not the like let one spend at a time. We gotta hope that we can get like because eventually the idea is going to be like, well, why don't we just close the elementary school and build it onto the middle school, high school?
Right. And that's not entirely out of the realm of possibility because, like it or not, buildings deteriorate. And we talked about this on the last one. Like,
But
if
Tony,
you were,
that school was just fine for you and me back in 1991. How could there possibly be any need for any of that? Oh yeah, the Fairmont is bigger, right?
the building itself, yeah, I think square footage wise, it's definitely bigger. I think, other than the fact it's rated so poorly in terms of what it would need to meet code, is like I said, there's a lecture hall and you can't really repurpose it because the way it's built. So a lot of the floor plan isn't ideal for what they're looking to do. And I mean, you can make any argument you want there. I mean, I get it, but we're talking about wasted space. So, like, if you have a wasted lecture hall that's in good shape but you can't use it for anything, versus a classroom with portions of the ceiling caving in, like I don't
Now
know.
I have to say, Tony, my super fan Wallrads is like I got to give you credit. Like we thought we were going to have an uncontroversial, like just get together local stream. No, Wallrads is bringing. He's going to be bringing the heat all night, folks. So get ready for that. But yeah, now we got Amanda here. The middle school roof is a little over 8 years old, so I'm confused why everyone thinks it is so
This
bad.
is coming directly from
Middle school's not, but the like the inside of the roof maybe, but the outside of the roof's not too bad on the middle school. But the Tony, there's we're
coming
talking about the
directly from
elementaries.
student accounts, like students who've been there recently are saying this. Like that's kind of the point, and it's not just the middle school. Like I want to make that very clear, because there's also a problem we're having at the elementary school, which is going to be a portion of that bond budget anyway. So, and they said this at the meeting, that this is not a guarantee that we're going to lose the middle school building. Uh, does it feel like it? Yeah, absolutely, it feels like it. But
When was it Chad Engel? Was it
I think Chad.
when he said, "Well, this isn't yes or no Fairmont." Okay, I kind of looked over at you too. He's like, "Tony, I feel attacked." Like I feel like that was a dig a little bit, but
So
the
yeah,
unfortunate reality is, like, guys, gals, and all of our varying Fillmore Central pals, um, no matter what, there is going to be a sacrifice here. And it's not just, yes, there's dollars. That's not something to shuffle off to the side, but there will be some kind of sacrifice here. Okay. And it's unfortunate that it's necessary, but guys, have you looked at the population and demographic figures? There's going to have to be some sort of realignment. I hate that Fairmont might be that ultimate sacrifice to do it, but in doing it, it turns Geneva into a town with actual growth. Does that make sense, folks? Like that's like I don't like it. I wish there was some other way, but
well, you're making it sound like you're cutting off a finger to save the arm.
kind of. It's like unfortunately when all your towns in your county are in decline and you have one with at least a static population. Tony, I know this is going to sound like hyperbole, but it's really not. It's sort of like, well, okay, we can decide to either die a little or die a lot. Does that make sense? Like it's
No, it makes sense.
it's the unfortunate reality. I know that sounds
it
like
is.
hyperbole.
No, it sounds cold, but I mean that's unfortunate. The reality is, uh, we talked about this last time. If Fairmont had gone another direction and gone with Exeter to consolidate with, it doesn't sound like Exeter was interested in even keeping the middle school and Fairmont open at all. Like they were just like, no, you can just come here and you can be done. So again, I mean, we got 25 years out of it after consolidation happened. So like that's nothing to sneeze at. And if there's a way to make this work and keep it into rotation somehow, because let's be frank, there's not going to be a buyer. I mean, not one that really utilizes the building for anything. Like, so yeah, it's an
Now,
absolute.
there may be
It's a question that has to be asked. Like, what's going to be the upkeep cost for an empty building? Because that's something.
that's
It's
real.
not
I mean,
nothing.
now there may be a potential buyer for the downtown gym. We'll see on that. There's many rumors going around, but if that does happen, we'll keep you updated. Now, T, another thing I'm kind of curious about. I want to reach out to the school board. I wonder where the votes are actually going to be tallied. Like, there's a part of me that really wants to just set up a laptop and a webcam there and be like, all right, we got 1 for. All right, we got 2 against. We got 3 for. Like, yeah, there's a part of me that really wants to go that way. Chris Enberg, do we know how the results will be announced? Will that be on March 11th or later? You know, that's I'm wondering the same thing, Chris. I would love to be there live and try to make local politics seem as dramatic as humanly possible. Because
Does the signal come out on Wednesday or Thursday? Like, because I assume it's going to be. Most people are probably going to be waiting for the signal to come out, and that's going to be how most people find out. But it's not like this isn't going to be
unless we're streaming live that night, T.
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, now they might just be like, Phil, Tony, no, leave.
I have a feeling that the word of the pass or fail will get out far before any announcement in the paper is made, regardless. So I think we'll probably find out pretty quickly because it's been such a hot button issue.
Yeah, like you said, win, lose, or draw. I got the feeling they're going to want to get that out there quick. Now, it's the thing I always emphasize is, like I said, we're going to be a community. So, folks, don't gloat no matter who wins or loses. Like, if you're for it and it passes, don't be Wednesday. Don't be like braggadocious to the farmers that are going to have a higher tax to pay. And farmers, and if this goes down, farmers, don't be braggadocious because the people of our community are trying to find a way to stop our community from dying. Okay, like no matter who wins or who loses, we still have to stay together on this one, and we're going to have to find a different solution.
In the last 15 to 20 years, Geneva has really found a way to start swerving away from being a retirement community into a thriving community, like a growing community that has a lot of youth surrounding it. Because for a long time, Geneva was very much a retirement community, and that's just the way it was. But
unfortunately, it's worse.
It's gotten a lot of growth. I mean, we've had a lot of businesses and surrounding things start thriving. We've had a lot of youth come in. Like I feel like it's trending up. So this is one of those things. Like I get it, but it's almost a necessity if you're going to continue to have that growth. And I'm not talking like, oh yeah, Geneva's going to boom. It's going to explode onto the map. That's not going to happen. But obviously, we're not going to get a casino. That's not going to happen. Like we're not in any danger there. So. Yeah, I know that's disappointing too.
It would be kind of like now. Granted, the problem is like when a casino moves in, it's always kind of that. There's some good and some bad that comes with that whenever that happens. So yeah, a lot. Mostly like unfortunately the poorest in your community getting exploited by But anyways, we'll get into that. That's a different bond issue.
Try to sift through some of the stuff from last time that we didn't get to touch on. This was sent in from Susan before we did the first stream. This was her 2 cents on the school bond. Because of the way Nebraska's set up, property tax is how schools are paid for. Fair or not, Fillmore County is not going to change the state laws to pay for the school. Bond is placing farm ground at a 50% levy to try to minimize the impact on the farmer. If the bond does not pass, the levy can be increased by a certain percent each year without a vote. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 3%, which I believe is accurate. If that has to be done, then the farmer will take 100% of that levy. In the long run, there will be no way to save the farmer if we don't pass the bond. With no passed bond, we will have to increase the levy every year, every possible year we can, just to keep up with maintenance costs. And if something bigger happens, we will have to bond just to pay for the things that can't be paid for in the current budget. As far as the Fairmont School, maintenance costs for that building just don't make sense. I believe even if the bond doesn't pass, they will close the Fairmont location and find room for 5 and 6 at the elementary and 7 and 8 at the high school. Again, I brought that up. There's not a realistic way to do that for room, not comfortably. I've been told by a board member that if that happens, they will have to kick out Tyke and we will no longer have a local preschool. We should have put money into the school 15 years ago. Yep. So we weren't in this situation in the first place. But at this point, it's almost embarrassing to go to other schools and see how nice of facilities they have compared to ours. It's well past time we invest in our schools. Well said. And this touched on a lot of these things because you don't want to be the laughing stock school. You just don't. Like, I'm not asking for people to have like school pride, but it's got to be a little embarrassing when, like, take for example tonight. I was at the FC wrestling meet for first and second grade, and then we had to rush home so we could do this. But there's a lot of people there right now. It's cramped. It is severely cramped, and this is with the addition of the wrestling room. Like, we had 4 mats in the gymnasium plus 2 mats in the wrestling room. And in the wrestling room, since we didn't pass that bond 10 years ago, there's no way to sit in there. Like, people are just crammed in there wall to wall, watching or trying to watch 2 matches go on in this thing. Meanwhile, there's 4 matches going on in the gymnasium, and even that's packed. So, like, it's great. This is the 27th, I believe, year that we've done this. So, great. But it's got to be a little embarrassing when we're just scraping by being able to host these things, considering all these other surrounding communities and schools are getting these massive upgrades or got it in when they got them in. And now they're reaping the benefits of that because they can have tournaments and the like without effort. And it's not cramped. And like people are saying here, it's wow, night and day. Look at this place. It's very impressive. And going back to our place and like, wow. And I just finished up with basketball a few weeks ago for the third graders. And most of our games were played in the downtown gym. The plumbing there, not even salvageable. Wasn't salvageable 20 years ago. This building is not going to be in rotation pretty soon. Like, regardless of this vote, folks. Like, it's just not. There's no way to keep up with it. Like, the floor's fine. That's not the problem. It's just, how long can we keep this building going? Because it's been on life support for the better part of 40 years, if we're going to be honest.
I was about to say, T, from the time you and I used to meet up outside the downtown gym when we were 13, even then there was some improvements that
Yeah.
needed made. And
Yeah.
now, T, I have a teenager. Okay, that's
Yeah.
how much time has lapsed there. And
time
do
is
gotta
not
say,
kind to buildings. So that's
now,
the
T, I
thing,
do gotta
folks.
say, the downtown gym, I'm sure you, the parents, the children, everyone loves the extremely convenient and safe parking situation
Yeah.
of right in the
It's
middle
the
of a
worst.
highway.
It's the
I mean,
absolute
like,
worst.
literally, you have like dozens of children running on the highway, and I'm like, there are times I'm like, how the blank is this allowed? What?
Yeah.
Like, and so that kind of
Yeah.
so that I could
Yeah. If
like,
you don't get there like 2 hours early, you're not going to have a parking spot.
yeah,
That's just the way it is.
you just got to park on the other side of the block, basically.
Pretty much.
So that's the unfortunate reality of that.
Like, at this point, I would be even better with just letting the downtown gym disappear. And could we, if we're going to say goodbye to the Fairmont building, if that's what ends up happening, whether this passes or not, can we salvage the gym and kind of like we did with the hospital? They salvaged the fitness center and one of the other main office portions, and the rest is like it never existed. Could we even salvage that? Because then we'd at least have another gymnasium if we needed it. So I don't know. That's something I think should be taken into consideration.
I don't know. I think we should just leave it to the mystery buyer.
Yeah, the mystery buyer.
Now we'll see. Like I've actually have heard legitimate rumors about that, so that's great journalistic standards. I've heard legitimate rumors, T. Okay, these are the high journalistic standards you get here, folks. But yeah, that's we'll see what comes out. But T, you had a bit more of a detailed breakdown of where the numbers are going to go with this.
So people were asking for an itemized breakdown of like, if this doesn't pass, what is this 51.5 million that we're estimating over 20 years? Where is that going to go? So I asked, and they said it was on the website, and I can't for the life of me find it if it is. And so I did a little more digging, and I asked them directly again, and this is what I got. So it's broken down into 4 locations, like we said. You got your elementary, middle, high school, and the downtown gym. This is based off of a 20-year maintenance cost for each location. For the elementary school, just over 11.5 million. Middle school, 15.25 million. High school, 17.5 million. And the downtown gym, a little over 7 million. Just for the downtown gym.
So they want to pour 7 mil into that.
I can't see, which shocks me, because I can't imagine, like, what are we pouring that 7 million into? Because we know the plumbing's not going to get fixed. So I assume that means we're going to do everything in our power to make the floor better, the hoops better, whatever sports we can do in there, we're going to do them. Because again, this is money if the bond does not pass. Like, this is what we're estimating for general upkeep and necessary upgrades. So the timeline, if we factor in all 4 buildings, 0 to 5 years, we're looking at almost 18 million. 6 to 10 years, we're looking at almost 11 million. 11 to 20 years, we're looking at 23 million, for a total of 51.5 million over a 20-year period for the 4 locations. So I got a little more on the breakdowns, and this is a little more in depth. So just as a good example. So this is for, let's see, was this the middle school? Which one was 15? Yeah, the middle schools, the 15,262,000 over a 20-year period. So these numbers are coming from the middle school, and I think that's the one people are probably most worried about anyway. So people don't take in mind, like, everybody's asking for the itemized breakdown of this, because we want to know what is this money going towards? Why is this number so high? Like, and you can start talking about stuff like cupboards and light bulb fixtures. Like, well, that's not that much. No, it's not, until you consider how many of those. So you got to do it until you consider how many there are over how long of a period we're talking. So this is an estimated methodology over 20-year period. Construction costs: brick pointing, repairs, and cleaning. We're looking at about 2,500 pieces there. Cost per unit be $25 a unit. Current year construction costs $62,500. That would be done in 2025. Escalated notes construction cost $65,000. So that's just for brick pointing and cleaning repairs. Like, something that simple. That's a lot, because the quantity is so high. Replace and update the flooring. Except the gym, not including the gym. Be 45,500 of them at $9 a unit. Looking at a $409,500 cost. This would be done in 2027 for around $461,000 in the end. Repair, rebuild clay tile wall areas. Original gym area. 2,500 units at $25 a pop. 62,500 to be done in 2025. Looking at about 65K. And this goes on. Like, these are these are simple things, but when you put it across a broad scale at a large amount, it adds up quickly. Adding a grease interceptor to the kitchen, 1 unit, $40,000 to be done in 2030. So looking at 51,000. So, and that's required with any renovation. So that would be probably factoring into some grandfathering things that would be taken into account. So, just a moment.
Yep. Hey, now this is one of the reasons why Tony does have some passion for this particular topic. Is Tony does have some children that will be going through this school, regardless of what particulars, depending on what particular state it's in. Walrads goes, get Doge on the case. We love you, Walrads. God bless you. I love you. That's
we got a
great.
few more. Like, there's a lot on here, but just a couple more things. Partial replacement or repair of gym flooring at 1,000 units, $30 a unit, $30,000 to be done in 2027. So looking at more like 34,000, which would include refinishing the entire floor area. Adding an AC to the kitchen. That's not replacing. That's adding. 1 unit, 150,000.
So wait, the kitchen at the high school?
No, this is the middle school.
Oh, so the kitchen at the middle school.
If it does, apparently it doesn't work, or I don't know. It just says add AC to the kitchen. Like, Phil, you and I didn't go to the middle school.
Yeah, so I didn't go. So like, yeah, I don't know.
We never got to really.
Any lunch ladies want to weigh in on that one? Like, what's like if you're a Fairmont lunch lady, let us know. Are you like a UPS driver, where you don't have any AC or anything, and you just kind of got to deal with it? Like,
replacing toilet compartments in the locker rooms, 2 units, $2,500 a unit. $5,000 cost to be done in 2035. Estimated cost $8,000. I was told that the urinals in the middle school are so ancient and inefficient that you're flushing like 2 gallons at a time in a urinal, Phil. Like, that's an ancient method there.
1985 toilets there.
Yeah. Replace millwork and cabinetry. Like, that sounds simple, right? Till it's 440 units at $400 a piece for a total of $176,000 to be done around 2040 for an estimated cost of $330,000. So, like, I saw a lot of comments, and this was before we did the first stream. Like, if they need a bond for the addition because it's expensive, where would they get the money for the repairs, and why did the repairs get so far behind? I don't think the repairs got so far behind. And if they did, probably because we used building fund for things that we couldn't get passed on a bond to essentially upgrade it and keep it going and at least look like we're trying to make an effort to make the school competitive compared to the rest of the surrounding communities, the ones that come here and compete against us. Like it or not, we've talked about this. Sports are important in that regard. If you're going to invite other schools here and your school looks run down, well, that scoreboard's not important, or that little house in the bleachers, the football field, we didn't need that. Okay, but you can't just let everything become dilapidated and falling into a complete state of disrepair. You just can't. So it's kind of a catch-22. Why did the repairs get so far behind, yet you're going to gripe when things did get upgraded?
Catch-23 situation.
So it's well, take it how you like, but I don't think this is a case of it getting far behind. This is more of a case of we're putting things off because we're hoping we can come up with a solution that's going to make sense monetarily. And if we can't, then the money that's going to go towards this, it's going to be a lot, and we're going to try to space it out.
Now, something to keep in mind, I had my AI do some more studies, and it was the GDP of Fillmore County, and then I also had it do the GDP of York County and the GDP of Lancaster County. So keep in mind, so the 48 million is what's going to be spent. The GDP, the gross, the entirety of our county of what it can produce in a year before taxes and every kind of bill is taken out. Somehow, blanket, I'm a little skeptical, but what we make, and this before any kind of tax of any kind, is $380 million a year is our gross domestic product of Fillmore County. Now that sounds a lot. Keep in mind, though, York County's is about $980 million. It's just shy of $1 billion. And Lancaster County's GDP is $17 billion. So, like, when you keep in mind, like, this is going to eat up a bit of our GDP, like a not insignificant amount of it. And so, this is one of those that, if it passes, I'm really glad we got some farm families on the school board, T, because like honestly, I don't think this would have as much legitimacy if it didn't have some legitimate farm families coming and asking. Like, truth be told, because it's a big ask for the farmers, it's a big ask for everybody. And when I was there, I'm just going to go ahead and say, Kristen was the best natural public speaker of everybody on the school board. Okay, she just came out and kind of laid, like, some of them, God bless them, I love them dearly, but this is an opportunity for our county because this county now has an opportunity. Thank you. Like it was kind of like a couple of them had very prepared speeches. You could tell they did not want to be giving a public speech, but I will say that it's a bold ask. It's a big ask, but if it does pass, I will say, as somebody that's not exactly like, again, I'm not gonna be like, I oppose, like, I'm not that kind of guy. Okay, whatever happens, it will be the will of the people, and it's the will of our county. Okay, whatever happens there. If it does pass, there actually is a chance for this to actually do what the people who crafted it wanted it to do, and that's build the community. Now, like, some people have unfairly tried to equate this with a previous local politician who just used the local credit card as a springboard to spring himself off into bigger and better things, never to look back ever again. That is not what this is. The people who are putting this forward are probably going to get buried in the graveyard, like 10 blocks away from the school. Okay, like they're going to be here till their dying day. Okay, like that's something to keep. So they will be administering it for the full 30 years of the bond.
Yeah.
Like they ain't going nowhere. So that gives me some comfort if this does.
No, it's a big deal. It is a big deal. It makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah, and so that's what I always keep in mind. Like, don't compare this to past bad experiences, which, if you do criticize those, you are actually correct in doing so, in my personal opinion. But this is not that. Okay, like that's excuse me, T. Just had a bit of a scratch in my throat. Must be the cigar.
It must be. So like one thing I want to reiterate, because I feel like it doesn't get said enough and it's easy to forget. You get what you pay for, right? So when we're comparing the numbers, they're pretty close in terms of the total, whether it be a 30-year bond or a 20-year efficiency cost, right? If we vote no and this doesn't pass once, twice, three times, whatever, and we're forced to go down that route of spending 51.5 million or more to keep up with these buildings, because you're also gonna have unforeseen expenditures on top of that. That's not just with what they're projecting, like there's going to be other stuff that comes up. If we go down that road and we have to start doing that, if you start skimping on the cost, you're going to get less longevity out of what you pay for. So keep this in mind, because I know people are hearing that number, 51.5 million. It shouldn't cost that. That shouldn't cost that much. Well, unfortunately, if you skimp on the cost, what good is that going to do? Because you can either, and this is with buying anything for personal use, you can buy $100 refrigerator at the local auction, and you can do that for 10 years. Every year you can buy another one. Or you could just spend $1,000 and get the fridge that lasts 10 years. Like, what do you want to do here? Because if you have to go the route where you have to constantly repair it and replace it for cheaper money, are you really saving anything? Because that's definitely something nobody is keeping in mind, because they're seeing that 51.5 million. They're going, that's astronomically high. Yeah, it is. It is high, but it's probably realistically a lot higher than that. So we can't cut corners if we do vote this down, because things are going to have to be done. Money is going to be spent. The building fund's only going to cover so much. And guess what? There's going to be another bond vote. So
Yeah.
don't vote to cut corners,
Between you and me,
because we're
though,
not going to be able to cut them in the long run anyway.
just between you and me, T. Again, like just looking at the analysis
And everybody
of,
watching, right?
of
Yeah,
our
just between you and
GDP
me.
in our county, like it. If this does get voted down, I don't know. We'll see. If it gets voted up, that's what we're working with. We now know what the future kind of looks like. If it gets voted down, I could see them coming back with a bond somewhere around 27 million, because the GDP of our county could handle that and still have emergency rainy day fund. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
at
so
that point, it's going to be a matter of where are we cutting the costs. And that's why I just brought that up, because are we trimming fat? Are we removing parts of what we're looking to build? How
yeah.
are we going to come to that number?
I'm sure the people who put this together would rather just this bond pass, because it's going to be real tough to go from that. But to me, like it or not, like this is kind of a yes or no Fairmont. I'm sorry, like, and we are asking a very big ask of them, and that should be acknowledged. Because, but
Absolutely.
I think the people of Fairmont would probably acknowledge that we, all of us, are going to have a potentially better life from this. Okay.
Well,
Fairmont
yeah.
is going to have to bear the brunt of that sacrifice, though. And like, to me, I'm almost like, no, these kids should have Fairmont days in Geneva. Just for the next 30 years, they have a parade for thank you, Fairmont. But that's
It's an ask. It is an ask. And
it's
I like,
but these are the real costs. Like, because unfortunately, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it like $600,000 a year to do all this busing back and forth just in diesel
yeah,
costs?
they were figuring with the
Maybe
if you
I'm
put all,
inflated.
no, because they were between 600,000 and 800,000 was going to be the estimated savings a year if you have a one school site, or all the elementary and the middle school and the high school in Geneva. So that's factoring in a big portion of it being transportation costs for students and faculty. So, and I know that number sounds incredibly high when you're talking about transportation, 7 miles, but again, it is until you like crunch the numbers and tally it up, because it tallies up quickly,
You've
and it
seen the
does.
price of diesel lately. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
diesel, bus costs. I know. I can't imagine what insurance is for having to do that much transporting. Like,
And can you imagine how much insurance is going to be when Mr. Westover's not driving them anymore? Because even the insurance company's like, okay, Mr. Westover's it's okay. We don't even need to worry about that. And so that savings will be gone like in another 100 years when Mr.
so,
Westover. Oh, sorry. Like, he might outlive the both of us, T.
and I'd like to hear more from the Fairmont community. I really want. I would like to. It's just,
Yeah, I'd like to hear something from
like,
like the
I see
community.
comments here and there, but like I want to hear more from the Fairmont community. Like, what are the suggestions? Because I get you're upset. You should be, but I want to hear some ideas, some commentary, some engagement. Like, because yeah, it should be acknowledged, but it is what it is. It's where we're at, and like I said, it was 25 years we got out of the building, and it's going to be a few more. So by the time it's all said and done, it's going to be closer to 30 years the middle school was in the rotation of the consolidation. So I mean that's nothing to sneeze at, but if this doesn't go through, like it's not going anywhere, and a big chunk of the cost of maintenance is going to be on that building. So
So, like I keep emphasizing, all of our choices are bad ones, and I hope
to be
that
exact, $15.25 million over 20 years. So yeah.
so like I said, folks, our community can either die a little or it can die a lot. That's unfortunately where we're at. I
So
don't like.
let's
Again, as a farmer, I'm not going to like the taxes. Okay, I'm not going to like it. But if there's a chance we could actually have an improvement in our community and an actual growth in our community, if it ends up passing, I'll grumble because T, you know how I am with taxes. Okay, I'll
right.
grumble about it, but I'm willing to see it through. I'm willing to see it out if this is what the people vote on. Okay,
Right.
like you said, like we're not gonna Boston Tea Party over this. Okay, like it's like let's just see what happens, folks. Like because this is our community, and if this school actually does get built, like I've been to other schools in our area where I'm like, wow, somebody rich must have died around here. Okay. Andrew Satman just built the new school. It says
It's not
Andrew.
that easy.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, the people got to vote on it first.
This isn't Shickley we're talking about.
I was about to say they just got to go ask the three guys. Hey, can we build the school? Okay. And then the three guys. Now, Walrads, this is true. Acknowledge the farmer tribal chief.
Let's
Pro wrestling reference to those who don't know.
so let's talk a bit about the elementary. So I brought this up earlier
Oh, T, why?
because, like it or not, I don't think enough people are talking
Tony,
about
we're
it.
talking about the ghost of school bond present, okay? You're
Doesn't
getting
matter.
into the ghost of school bond future, okay? And we've already covered the ghost of school bond past that didn't really pass.
Well, I think this is important when you talk about anything concerning a bond because money is going to be spent on this. And right now, the money proposed to spend on the elementary, a lot of it's going towards the entranceway and security on that. And that's fine. I have no problems with that. I think that'll probably be the first thing cut if this doesn't go through. Because I think the drains and the plumbing, I've been told, are probably the second most important thing at the elementary. Like my oldest, who's 9, said, yeah, I hope this passes because the bathrooms are terrible at the elementary school. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And apparently the middle schools might be worse, but still, if a student who's not even going to be there less than a year, and he's still like, yeah, no, those need fixed bad. So,
Well, also,
other than
I talked with my daughter, and she went to that school for a brief amount of time, but she was in the middle school, and I was telling her about this, and she's like, "Oh, Dad, no, 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 that." No, no, you want this to pass. You should just go ahead. Like now, she's a girly girl. It's like, Dad, the taxes are just like taxes and things, but the school will be nice. Okay, and so like that's now I was like, this hurts. It's painful, but there's a part where she's probably correct because she was like it or not. The kids are the customers here. Okay,
yeah,
the kid, like the parents. Sorry, you're not really the customer. I don't know how to say this to you. I know you like to think you are. You're not the customer here. Okay, it's the kids, and every single child I've talked to that's gone through that middle school is like, no, 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 Phil, you don't get like this is like Oliver Twist Like we got some problems that need fixing. And so I was kind of against it until I actually started talking to the kids who actually went to that school. Andrew Satman went, did people have as much problem with the waste of money at the pool? But actually, yes. But that's a different issue. That's a different issue entirely. Like I pointed out earlier, that is, I don't think you should equate those two because the circumstances are so much different. Like I said, in regards to this school, the people who are proposing this bond, almost every last one of them is going to get buried at the Geneva Cemetery about 10 to 12 blocks away from the very middle school, high school that we're talking about constructing. So it's a different animal here. So like I said, if it wasn't for some of the people on that board, I don't like I wouldn't have as much confidence, truth be told. Okay, it's
Yeah. No, I think that's important. Like, you can put to bed all the. I know that there's probably people who are thinking that this is like a cash grab, that this is some kind of lining your pocket scheme. These are people from the community who were voted into this position who wanted to take on the task of an unthankful position. All right. Like, there are better ways to line your pockets than this, because this is going to a vote that has a very hard chance of passing. Like, if you're trying to line your pockets nefariously, this ain't
Fillmore
the way to
County's a
do it.
bad place. Like if you're looking to grab an extra buck, Fillmore County, Nebraska is a poor mark. Okay, because like I point out, like I know 380 million in GDP sounds like a lot, but in reality, when you consider all the taxes, everything that's getting spent, and like we're talking about 48 million just on this one, like it's a little bit like squeezing blood from a stone. Okay, now, Oliver 22 going, the project that will make Geneva broke again. Now, Oliver, as a farmer, I totally get it. And you and I both understand. But also, Oliver, that's a school you might be probably will be going through. So I'm curious, I'm very curious your perspective here, young man. So
If only we were all Shickley and McCool, right?
Well, no, we're talking to Geneva folk right now.
No, that's what I mean, though.
Yeah, if only we had that kind of. Oliver goes, I'm not going to that school. Okay,
Well, there you go.
We shall see. We shall see, young man. But also, God bless you, Oliver. But yeah, that's the big crux here. Is I've noticed, Tony, call me crazy. This is something I've noticed. The people that are going to get a lot of use out of this facility tend to be very for it. Oh, you got somebody on the phone? No, okay. The people that like are going to get taxed very heavily tend to not be very for it at all. I'm sure Tony's on the phone right now with the school board. They're like, you get that no good Phil K.O.E. and you set him straight, okay?
No, I was going to get a first-hand account of something for us.
Oh, okay. All right. A first-hand account. Oliver goes, all the angry Democrat teachers are voting. God bless
This
you.
isn't a Democrat or Republican vote. Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
So
And here's the thing, Oliver, as you know, as my kinfolk here, let me just say, no matter what happens in this election, Oliver, we're not going to gloat. Okay,
yeah,
if the farmers are triumphant and this tax hike is voted down, we're not going to be gloatful. We're not going to be boastful or gloating over those who lose. Okay, because they're trying to find a. Give me just 1 second here.
Sorry.
They're trying to find a way to bring their community together. Now, if they win and we lose, Oliver, we're also not going to be impertinent and unnecessarily difficult in that regard. We are going to hold our head up high, and we are going to help our community as we are called upon to do yet again, as us farmers are called to do repeatedly, Ollie. So that's just something to keep in mind. No matter what happens, Oliver, we're going to hold our heads up high as farmers, and we will help guide this community in whatever way we can, Ollie. Okay. Andrew Satman. So
hang on, Phil.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Stryker.
What?
I'm supposed to ask you about the drinking fountain outside of your 3rd grade classroom.
Been broken recently?
How long has it been broken?
Well, the one down by 1st grade was broken for the first half of school, and then ours have been broken the past week.
So, and is it just not working, or is it just gross?
Mm-hmm.
A little of both. Okay. All right.
So we're
Fair
getting
enough.
live accounts
So,
of
there you go.
real
First-hand account
of actual plumbing breaking. And that's the middle school or the elementary? Is that the middle school or elementary? He doesn't know. But folks, we're getting real live action, real-time accounts of plumbing actually falling apart. But we'll get to some comments here. Andrew Simon, I've heard people say Fairmont will die without the school, but isn't that town dead already? What do they have? Well, Andrew, that's also another thing we've been talking about, is this will be a very big ask of Fairmont. It could potentially, I mean, without hyperbole, it could be the final decline for Fairmont. It'll always be there to some regard, but this could be that last decline there. And so that's something to keep in mind. This is a very real sacrifice. But Andrew, keep in mind, all of our towns except for Geneva are in decline. Geneva is the only town that has a static population. So if you're actually going to do any kind of social engineering where you're going to try to build something, Geneva is your only springboard. So I'm trying to see every side of this. If we win, no YMCA Trump dances. Yeah, the Trump dance. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see, Oliver. If this happens, they will hire the. I don't know. Well, Ollie, if this happens, it will actually attract better coaches, which will then in turn attract better teachers, is the hope, anyways. So keep in mind, Ollie, this is all social engineering. Okay. Folks at home, I'm also giving my nephew a short lesson here. But yeah, keep in mind, Ollie, this is social engineering to some measure. And it's not going to be the most ghetto teachers. The way you get that is if you do let your school kind of go to disrepair, is another way. But yeah, that's not, I don't think that's going to be the case. Actually, Fillmore Central always had shockingly good teachers. It's like most people in my class can actually navigate using the stars and can find the North Star based on the Big and Little Dipper. So let's see. American Lynn, not that hard to fix a drinking fountain. Some urinals should be fixing those with the operating budget, right? We have several plumbers in town. Interesting. There should have been a lot. We could talk about what we should have done, but now we have to talk about what we must do. That's the unfortunate reality. It's like V for Vendetta, great movie, where V goes, I am not here for what you intended to do. I am here for what you did. And that's kind of where we're at here. Ollie goes, the school is tripping harder than Biden on stairs. Nice. Now, there was one, at the Fairmont school, there's one door that's it's a door right in the staircase. I'm like, that is not the most handicap accessible. That's not. Ben goes, nah, let's build a new school in Fairmont. Yes, just build the whole new thing, the middle school and the high school in Fairmont. What could go wrong? Oh my God.
Okay,
no.
where?
Apparently across from the ethanol plant. Because
okay,
that's
who
the
owns
only
that ground?
well, I have a field caddy corner to it.
Are you going to sell that field, Phil?
I wasn't necessarily wanting to.
Oh, so you're telling me a farmer wouldn't want to sell that ground that they're going to get taxed on to build a new location school? Crazy. That's weird. Next.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, the property we have is the easiest one to work with. Walrads goes, beware critical race theory being taught. As a former teacher, beware the curriculum. You may have a beautiful school, but be sure it has a beautiful soul. Very good point there. Andrew Sattler, my biggest reason why I would like the middle school to be in Geneva is for my son that has medical issues. I would feel more comfortable with here being in town where the hospital is. You know,
Fair
that is a
point.
point, like the middle school, like, okay, there's a medical issue. Now just run him 10 miles down the road and he'll be all right.
Oh, FYI, Phil, yeah, confirmed. The middle school secretary says there is no AC in the middle school kitchen.
Oh,
There's just not.
bro, what? So they're literally doing like the UPS drivers where they got no AC or no heating in their truck, but they just pay them way more for not
Yeah.
having it. But they ain't paying them lunch ladies more. They're just making them
So
separate.
to expand on my son's cameo about the drinking fountain, there was like black stuff floating in the water. Like, and we're talking about drinking water. So yeah, this is important. Like, I want to talk about the elementary, and we kind of got sidetracked with my.
And that just happened like not too long ago, right? And so that's falling apart before your very eyes in real time.
My
Oh man,
my
so
headphones died, so I had to improvise a bit.
nice.
And now it's playing the testing the speakers song in my ear for no reason, and I can't stop it.
Testing.
Why is it doing this?
I don't know. But like, oh yeah, Andrew, we got to that comment. Michelle Williams goes, it's concerning in this economy to take on massive debt. If you follow some of the news, out lawmakers are trying to vote themselves massive pay raise, cutting Medicaid and SNAP. It's crazy. Yes. And yeah, the national politics is insane right now. I love covering it. It's been some of the crazy, like the last month has been insane. And like literally we don't, like Tony and I, like, should we stream about this? No, because 2 hours later there's something else we're supposed to stream about, so we can't keep up. But this is local. Keep in mind all politics is local, but this one is.
I'm going to stress this again, Michelle. In layman's terms, the bond is not going to take $48.8 million in one lump sum. It's going to be like half that, and then they're going to keep taking from that to complete projects as they need to finish this project. So it's not going to be a lump sum $48+ million. And it's the same with the $51.5 million. It's not going to be that much immediately because we're talking about a 20-year period. So there's going to be a cost no matter what in this very concerning economy.
And Tony's hearing from one of the many reasons why he's considering voting yes on this school. Because yeah, Tony's got a bunch of kids. I got a kid. Now like I live in Shickley where the levy is very high because the folks here just are okay with it. Geneva's a little bit more hard-nosed on it, but let's see. Michelle goes, I wish we could work together and find some fundraising or cutting costs. I'm afraid things will get worse before they get better. I hate for anyone to lose their home or.
So let me address this again because we've got people coming in now who weren't at the beginning of the stream.
If you just.
Yeah, I wish there were more fundraising options. And I mean, it's not like fundraising can come from anywhere. Like anybody who wants to get involved with that is welcome to. Like nobody's stopping anybody from raising funds. So keep that in mind. Cost cutting. I just talked about this. Is it really beneficial to cut costs to save a few bucks if you're going to have to do it again in another year, 2 years, 3 years? Because the cost is going to keep rising. And if you have to keep fixing something, are you actually saving any money? Because by the time you fix it 2, 3, 4 times, you haven't saved anything. And we could have just paid for a new unit, wall, roof, whatever, and been done with it and gotten 20 years out of it.
Yeah,
Again, you get what you pay for with cutting costs. And I'm trying to get back on the elementary school. We keep getting interrupted, and part of that's my fault. But
well, I mean,
there
yeah,
are a lot of things that got cost cut at the elementary school that we are now paying for. So yes, no, I hate for anyone to lose their farm or home too. But if we're gonna talk about massive cost cutting, how many times do you want to pay for this? Like I'm gonna put it bluntly. Like we can pay for this once, twice, 3 times because that's the realistic. That's what we're really talking about here. It just is.
yeah, unfortunately, I've seen it many times on many balance sheets, and I've had to help other people with their balance sheets before in the past where they're like, okay, what can I cut? What do I cut here? What? And I have to go like, dude, you're not going to cut yourself to prosperity. Okay. Like, unfortunately, you're going to have to change your strategy. Okay. And that's generally once you do that. And so there's no way, like, I wish there was a way we could just budget cut our way into a brand new school, but but I also got to say, Blanket Stars told you us lunch ladies were sweating our torpedoes off.
Yeah.
Sorry, that I love that. I had to get to that. Michelle Williams. Oh, I understand about the lump sum, just fearful of what any guys in taxes the state will impose. Yeah, because we don't know what the state's going to impose later, but that's new cuts. Okay. But yeah, unfortunately, we're just kind of worried about this. And Tony keeps trying to go to the elementary school. And I'm like,
yeah, I've got a lot of stuff.
No, we're staying on this middle school and Fairmont. So help me God. No,
I got a bunch of stuff we need to cover, so we're going to try to get to it. This came from Daniel after our last stream. To summarize my thoughts, ADA updates at the elementary need to happen. ADA compliance is a need, not a want.
Americans
the estimated
To
hit the estimated maintenance numbers, it's not actually maintenance. It appears to be a maintenance capital slush fund of sorts, and neither BVH or FC have it well defined in their summaries. Well, I kind of went over a lot of that earlier. We can do it again if need be, or you can ask me privately. FC would have to ramp up its maintenance budget by over 3 times starting next year and continue at that rate for 20 years. Is that a likely outcome? Who knows, unless we can get a better breakdown of included costs. Like you said, it could be more, it could be less. But I just think that the arguments are dumb unless the dollar amount is provided with the detailed specifics. And again, I kind of went over some of this for the middle school earlier, but we can again. More details in a bid, the more accurate it is. The whole project hinges on that estimate being accurate. If it goes one way or the other, that drastically changes the outlook, but nobody is really talking about that. Personally, don't like the things like one extra classroom for large classes, like one coming with an extra teacher, or expanded middle school, high school parking were left off. I can understand the choice, especially because nobody knows how the building fund is funded or what money is available, but it makes the project seem like it isn't well thought out or developed when you have a Q&A open to the public. It's tough look when someone asks about a basic thing like that and a board member has to say, nope, not included. And I don't think that's entirely fair because at the middle school, it was directly asked about the parking. And I don't know that we're talking about it being left off, but it will be addressed. Like that was one of the big things they've stressed twice now when we're talking about the middle school upkeep is the parking is just atrocious. Like it's just tar and it's falling apart and it looks terrible. It's like a blacktop from 1,000 years ago. Yeah. So and that's the other thing. Like we're not going to handcuff ourselves in terms of expanding on the high school with the parking because that was talked about too. And BVH, I think, made the suggestion, well, don't expand that way because you're going to kind of screw yourself down the road. If you expand that way, you need to expand this way. And that's why we're looking at going towards the highway instead of going the other direction. So, and I think this is important again. BVH at least has had experience in doing this with other schools. And yeah, they know a lot of these things get voted down. So like that's expected. So and they give these quotes and they give these ideas with that in mind because yeah, Fillmore Central is not special in that regard. All school systems, to one extent or another, some are richer than others, especially the private ones. We're not that. We're neither. Yeah, these things don't pass on the first go round because
our school district is neither private nor rich. Because again, it looks like we got a couple of well-to-do farmers, but like again, compare us to York County, just a few miles to the north, and their GDP is over 3 times as much of what ours is. And so yeah, we're not.
BVH did Centennial High School, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews about Centennial. So there you go.
Like, oh, I'm sure if they get the money, they could build a wonderful facility. Okay, it's just a matter of the community speaking out if we want to spend this money.
This is going to be something that, like, I don't think the bond is going to cut, the passing or not, is going to cut ties with BVH. It sounds like they're very confident.
Oh, no. Basically, if this doesn't work, they're going to come back with a bond of, like, I'm going to guess somewhere in the 30s and see if that one flies.
And if we're talking 30s, like, a lot of this is going to go. Like, a lot of the proposals are going to go. Kiss the auditorium idea goodbye for a really long time. That's never going to happen because that's not on the proposal
that's
now.
That's a different animal entirely. They're basically saying if they can get this through, they'll try the auditorium later. Okay. So Brett says Centennial High School is incredible. How are we doing there, Flea?
Okay. Let's talk the elementary. I've been trying to do this.
But Tony, about the middle school, have you heard that the fountains aren't very good?
Yeah, I've heard the fountains of the elementary school, conversely, are also not good. So let's talk about this because this is important. Like I said at the beginning, we can't really logistically put the 5th and 6th graders back there comfortably, like in an emergency case, or like if we were left with no other reason because the middle school was just not usable anymore. If we had to do something like that, I guess it would be, but we'd be severely cramped because of the limitations on the space. And I asked this at the meeting, what are the actual options for expanding the elementary school? They're very limited because it was the elementary
weird shape.
Yes, and it was built in the late 60s, and it's such a weird diamond shape, and the way it sits on the ground itself is at such an awkward angle. Like, we're very limited. And then it's got surrounding buildings that are newer than that have kind of boxed it in. So we're very limited what we can do with this. Now, I wanted to bring this up because I was actually visiting with someone who worked as custodial maintenance at the school system, Phil. And this is like very, very insightful in terms of like what our actual options are. I told you earlier, like the drains and the plumbing are the second most important thing. Like the roof is probably the most important thing. Like we've talked about the middle school roof. Well, the elementary school roof, Phil, that's probably the big problem here. The roof is 20 years old on a 20-year guarantee. So what does that mean to you, Phil?
Say that again. Say that again.
It's 20 years old on a 20-year guarantee.
Oh, it's good for years.
Yeah, sure it is, Phil. Except for the fact that so there were so they did some HVAC work, and there's a couple of spots like where you've got units on the roof, right? And the way that they cut costs has caused certain areas in classrooms to be the unfortunate victim of severe leaking. So, like in some classrooms, Phil, when you walk in the elementary and you've got like that big totem pole bracing, like right when you walk in, like we used to sit on it because it's got like a bench on it. Yeah, apparently a lot of water just dumps through there, or snow can build up and just leak through that. So, yeah, some of the HVAC repairs there caused massive roof leaks. And we're looking at upwards of $3 million for roof repairs, which is obviously going to be factored into the bond because it kind of has to be. So again, I ask you, if you want to cut costs, what's cheaper, a roof or a lawsuit? Because I know what I'd pick, hands down. It just, I think this is a vital thing. And we can't, like I said, we can't really expand. We're handcuffed what we can do with the elementary. And I've also seen people ask, well, they make mention of the cafeteria being small. or the gymnasium, because there's no real seating in the gymnasium. You've got 2 bench seats on the back wall, and that's about it, other than the stage, which conversely is connected to the cafeteria. Well, the cafeteria you could expand theoretically to the outside where there might be a little bit of room to make it bigger. The gymnasium, however, is sunken in. It's at a lower level. It's handcuffed. We can do nothing with that. That is what it is, Phil. We can do absolutely nothing with the gym.
In more, if I may, like, and also something that the guy that was speaking a little bit earlier said, the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. I'm going to bring it back to the middle school again, T, because you love it so much. But the entrance to the middle school, one of the entrances where it's doors and then stairs.
Yeah.
A part of me is like, pardon my friend, I'll clean it, but how the blank have we not been sued for that?
Yeah.
Like, so unfortunately, like, regardless of up, down, left, or right on this bond vote, some ADA updates have to be done either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Okay, because like you said, a lawsuit can be very, very costly.
There's way more problems that go with a lawsuit than there are with just, biting the bullet. So with the gym at the elementary, like I said, we're handcuffed.
Middle school?
Nope, elementary still, because we're still going to be talking about that in 5 years, Phil. It is what it is, because you can't expand into the cafeteria area, because do you know what's under the stage in the cafeteria, Phil? Well, that would be where the HVAC system and a lot of that sits. So we literally cannot expand that gym. So when we're talking about why is another gym so important on this proposal, it's reasons like this. Because what do we have? We have the one main gym in the high school. We have the wrestling room, which hardly counts as a gym. We have the downtown gym, which we're just so we love parking there, and it's just so nice to not have plumbing when you go to a place. And we have the middle school, which also apparently has atrocious plumbing. So when you say things like, well, is a gymnasium really important? Well, apparently it is, because we've some people would call it neglect, others would call it, well, yeah, it's just ancient. So what do we want to do? I just don't get it. Like, you can have it now or you can have it later, and it can cost more later, but you're going to have it. And that kind of applies to almost everything.
Well, yeah, especially in the way that our economy has been working the last 7 years. Like, Tony, can you name something that's cheaper now than it was 6 years ago? Other than the price of our labor. Okay, other than the price of our labor. That's
a great question. No, I really can't.
Like, yeah, and curious, anyone within the sound of my voice, can you name anything cheaper now than it was 6 years ago? Anything, just anything, other than the price of all of our labor. Okay, that's because that's been going down, but or at least the value. But Brett DeLay says, "Friend is a very nice addition. So does Aurora, but it's darn near it's a darn mess with parking and know what sport is in what gym." Now, down Shickley, I'm gonna be honest with you, we have two full basketball courts, and so we do often host tournaments here for smaller schools, and it is very convenient to just jump from one court to the next, all in the same building. Yeah, okay.
You can't put a price tag on convenience over saving lives, though, Phil.
What? Wait, what? But
I'm being sarcastic.
I know, but like, that's, like it or not, these things are not nothing. And like I said to, gosh, I wish I could remember the wrestling coach's name who's on the school board. I can't remember his name. He's the wrestling coach.
Adam,
yeah. And that guy, if I could talk to him one-on-one, I'd be like, be more confident when you speak publicly. Because he was like, I just kind of, got elected to the board. I don't even know how I got here. I don't even know why I'm sitting here. Oh my God. No, it's okay. It's okay. Breathe in, breathe out. We'll get through this. Okay. But I talked to him and he was, it's like, it would be nice if people chose their schools based on who the science teacher and who the English teacher was. And like, it would be nice if they chose it based on the school staff. But we all know it's the coaches and it's the extracurriculars, and that's the advertising board to get families to want to
I
put
think
their
that's
kids
your
there.
advertising board, sure, but unfortunately, like we saw this on the last stream, it's not so much reputation, but it is preconceived notion. And I think
If I
Fillmore
may,
Central is really a big victim of preconceived notion, because like there are people who don't want to go here that opt out because of preconceived biases that may or may not be fair, and it has nothing to do with academics or sports. And
well, if I may, this is something my grandfather, the great Wendell Lauber, said many, many times. Perception is reality.
yeah,
What people perceive is real. If people perceive our town as being in decline, then guess what? They're right. If people perceive us as being on the way up, they're right. Okay. Perception is reality. Okay. And so that's something my grandfather always like banged into my head for many, many years. And that's something that we're going to need to keep in mind as a community. Because like I live here in Fillmore County, and who knows where I'm going to be living within the county within the next few years, but I live in Fillmore County. I farm here. This is where I'm at. Okay. I would like to see our town and our general community in a state of growth. I'd love to see it.
yes.
Okay. But we all need to accept that this is going to take some sacrifice to get there. Okay. And in terms of tax dollars, yeah, like here's the thing. Like, yes, the farmers are being asked a big ask, but I think more so than even the tax dollars of the farmers, the people of Fairmont are being given the biggest ask of all of this. Okay. Like like now, if it does pass, people of Fairmont, thank you. Okay. This sacrifice you have given for us, we will not forget it, and we will use it to make our community better. If this doesn't pass, farmers, like it or not, we're going right back to the drawing board. Okay. Like that's the unfortunate reality.
We're gonna go right back to asking you. Like that, it's not gonna stop. Like this is ag land. This is ag country. And ag landowners are going to shower the burden. Like it's just how it works. You don't have to like
That's
it, but that's
state law.
reality. That's how it
We'll
is.
see if
And we've done things to
LB2
prevent it
changes
from
that,
being
but-
as big of an ass as it potentially could be, and we talked about that too. So,
yeah, LB2 could change how
yeah,
ag land is funded, and it would take some of the pressure off the farmers. Now, the counter argument to that is, well, how else are we going to fund the schools if it ain't the farmers? Because, like it or not, folks, Nebraska, we're an interesting state. During the 2008 financial crash, there was only 3 states that kept in the black in terms of their budgets, and that was Nebraska, North and South Dakota. And the reason is because we are low population, high tax, highly productive in agricultural states. Okay. We have a very low population, very high taxes for how low our population is, and a very heavy ag base. And so that's literally the only thing that funds like you and I always joke that like if you're not tied to agriculture in some way, what are you doing here? Why are you?
it's a good question. Like, wait, we're suspicious.
Why are you like? And rightly so. What are you doing here? There's no some of us wonder why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, so why? Like, no, wait, like, so yeah, that's a legitimate. Like, wait, you're not tied to agriculture at all. Who are you? Like,
who are you and why are you here?
Yeah. But like, that's unfortunately a legitimate question to ask. Now, Is there any other inside track information that you got, or because eventually I do want to get to maybe some of the videos you're talking about, but
Yeah, I'll start getting
get that
that
queued
popped
up.
up because I think it's important, especially if you haven't gone to it and looked at it. Like there is a lot of good information there. If you've missed the meetings, which I get, life happens. It's not easy, and it's impossible to ask for somebody to vote for something
Yeah. Oh, my
and they
dad
don't
was
know anything
kicking
about it.
himself for missing it, but like it was Sunday at 2, and
Yeah,
most people have something going on Sunday at 2 in the afternoon. Okay, and so like me, I literally had to just zoom right there from church. Like I just walk guys, I gotta go. I got 30 minutes to get there. So, but yeah, that meeting they did kind of they retreaded a lot of old ground, but I do like the fact that they gave a lot more time for Q&A. Okay, like I hope they listened. Like if you're making this big of an ask to the community, give 20-30 minutes for Q&A. Okay, like let everybody have their moment to ask their question. And mine was just a pretty dry question about what's the total square footage of the facility, so we can calculate what the HVAC cost will be. Because I got my AI was spitting some really weird, contradictory things at me, because it said like a 15,000 square foot might be somewhere around 4,000 or $4 million. And then I said, well, okay, what about a 211,000 square foot facility? He says, maybe somewhere around 5.5 million, but it could be like, and I was like, that's a lot of, that's not much money range for a lot more. And so, but the low end for the HVAC for this is looking like it's going to be around 5 million. If you made me bet the house, I'm guessing somewhere closer to 7.
we have an anonymous comment.
Ooh.
We can't host tournaments here. Teams don't want to drive, and that's the other thing that needs to be taken into consideration when we're talking about tournaments and relationships with other school systems. Is like class rankings for different sports change based off of your student body, and that kind of changes on a yearly basis. But holding a good relationship with a neighboring community is vital, because if you don't have that, you've got to start seeking school systems from further away. And if you don't have a respectable enough facility to host a tournament, good luck convincing somebody from even further away to come and play at your location. So,
Well, it's not what you're. I don't. I would give pushback. It's maybe not even what you're thinking. If they want to drive to Geneva, it's if we have a tournament, they now have to drive from the downtown gym to the high school to the middle school and all back and forth throughout the day, and like that's a logistical nightmare. Kids get lost in that,
absolutely.
and so like if we actually had a facility that could do 2 or 3 games at once in one building, then you would actually get. Then I think, yeah, that we would be in a much better position to host tournaments if that's something we wanted to do. Okay, now every
That's the goal. It's the goal for pretty much every school, is to host tournaments, because it's not a cash grab, but it is a money grab. Like
it,
it's going to make money. Like that's just the way it is. It's going to help not only the school make money, it's going to help the community make money.
now
Like it or
what's
not, that's the way it is.
somebody mentioned, like, has there been talk of making the entire county one school district? And
Oh
like
yeah,
now, of course, like Geneva would like that, but I know for a fact Shickley will basically just shy of painting their face blue. They will never take our freedom. Like they're not going to be down for that. Now, T, between you and me, and I'll tell you off air, there is a nefarious way to make that happen. Whether anybody likes it or not, there is a way to actually make the entire county one school district, whether the other districts like it or not. But I'll get into that off air with you here a little
so
later, or
follow up
maybe after the
comments.
bond votes, if you're curious. There's a little teaser for our post bond
Yeah,
vote
we're
episode.
gonna jump on after the bond is officially counted, but follow up to the anonymous comment from before. we can't rotate host sites with other schools for triangulars because we can't host it. So either our JV players miss out on game experience or we don't host. The art teacher drives between all 3 buildings, and we have multiple staff that drive between buildings, and you're putting them on the road during not so favorable conditions. Another comment: why does Centennial get to host 2 days of the conference basketball tournament, which is like 10 games in 2 days? Because of their facilities and the money that they make. Can't imagine. There isn't even another facility to compete or share the wealth. So I know like this rubs people the wrong way when you talk about sports so importantly when it comes to these things, but like it or not, like that's the lifeblood of a school.
Like
And if
Tony,
you if you want to just make a handful of people from your community happy and not pay attention to sports, then that's just super noble of you. It's also completely stupid because you're not going to survive.
I'm curious, like the people who talk about we don't need no sports and why, like, how many science books have you donated? How many English books have you donated? How many laptops have you donated for the curriculum for the class? Unfortunately, this is what pulls people in sports. Tony, you know me. I could give 2 craps about a team sport. Okay, doesn't really matter which one it
You're
is.
not a sports guy.
Like wrestling,
And
at
you
least holds
you
my
prove
interest
that
because
with
it's one on
Travis
one.
Khaleesi.
Both of them, Travis Khaleesi and Travis Kelce, both great players too. They're both great.
They're both great. Yep, both of them.
Both of them are awesome guys.
They're just
But that's the
fantastic.
unfortunate reality is sports is how people perceive whether you've got a school worth going to. And Tony, remember what I said earlier about perception being reality. Okay, so do we want this to be what is our community? Okay, where people potentially come for tournaments, where you have a one-shop stop school, basically. Now, for the folks in Geneva, it's great. Okay, for the folks in Fairmont, my heart goes out to you. You are making the ultimate sacrifice for your county. Okay, like that's like unfortunately, like when the one guy said this isn't yes no Fairmont, like I think we need to be a little more upfront about that. Truth be told, because whether we like it or not, hard decisions do eventually have to be made, and nowhere was it written in stone that every single town is going to last forever.
No, and that's absolutely important to note when you're talking about a county like ours where you didn't start off with a unison school system. And when that idea got kind of broached, it was like, no, there was very much a me against the world mentality. Like the consolidation was kind of an ugly word around here.
Oh
And
yeah.
when it finally started happening, like sides were picked and sorts. And now here we are 25 years later, and it's not really gotten any less controversial. Follow up on that, those comments from before. Multiple of your school coaches are sponsors for non-sport activities. We care about both. Your non-sport groups run concessions for the sports to make money for their programs. So there you go. And these are
Yeah.
things that don't get taken into consideration enough. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, the concessions, that's real money that, like you said, those buy books, those buy, like, it does have a snowballing effect. Like I said, like, Tony, I am actually convinced that if this does actually pass and it does actually work and it does actually get built, I think the desired effects will actually happen. You'll actually see Geneva hit a point of growth. It'll be small for the first 10 years. Okay. We're going to go from like 2,100 to 2,500 in the first 10 years. But then the next 20 years, you're actually going to see some population dividends. Okay. Like that's when people who used to be here are moving back and having children here and having families. And so that's something that we need to keep in mind. You got the camera on this beautiful mug. What else you need? Tony's, having technical difficulties, but he'll be right back. And so, well, hey there, T. How we doing?
I don't know what keeps happening to my audio. Sorry, I'm fixing it.
It happens. It happens. But, well, T, have you cast your ballot? Oh, he's working on it. I was going to ask if he's cast his ballot and how did he vote? Ooh. Now, maybe he's going to do like the Dave Chappelle sketch where he won't tell us how he votes because, that's such a private question there, Dave. I live in Shickley, so I'll check my mail, but I'd be shocked if I got one. I do have some farm ground that's very much within the tax base area, though, so this does very much affect me personally, considerably. And oh, there you go, that beautiful face of extreme. Now, like I said, my question was for specific square footage. The one question of would there be a county-wide school district? I talked with some folks just today, actually, that were not them, but their parents were very influential and instrumental in making the original consolidation of Fillmore County, of the Fillmore Central School District, a thing. They were very instrumental in making that happen. And so, well, thank you. It's the haircut. It was well past due. I had to get my ears lowered today because I knew I was going to be in front of you beautiful people. And I wanted to make sure that you got the best possible fill that you could ever possibly get. So that and I'm also preaching this weekend at Sutton Community Church because pastor's in Cuba doing mission work. So I figured I need to look a little bit more professional. But yes, Sutton Community Church. Hope to see you there on Sunday. But
You're
Tony,
shilling for the preach. Oh, Phil. Okay,
Tony, I am never
I'm sorry,
above
everybody.
shameless
I'm back.
self-promotion. Okay,
Yeah.
you know this. I'm never above it.
I tried to open the YouTube link for the videos that we were going to play last time, and it completely screwed my audio. So, Phil, I sent you the link, and I'm going to let you do it.
All right.
That way it doesn't screw my audio up.
Give me just a moment here. So, Tony, while I'm pulling this up, how exactly did you vote on this, or have you voted?
Yep. So we have officially voted. They were turned in today. Well before, and if you haven't already, the ballot box behind the courthouse on the south side, easiest way, like I said, shade in your oval, seal it, but make sure you fill out the envelope, then seal it, drop it off in the box. We voted yes.
I'm shocked.
So, yeah, and I mean, it benefits us, I mean, more than a lot of other folks, that's for sure. So we're a little bit more biased in that regard. But I think ultimately it comes down to we're going to spend this money. Money has to be spent. And it's still going to cost us all money in the end. And I would rather pay for something long term than pay for Band-Aid fixes forever and continue to fall behind and have it cost just as much, if not more. I'm not one of those people who's going to look at this and go, well, this is a nefarious number and I don't like what they're proposing because I think they're trying to get rich off of this, because that's not what's happening. And it's not like what's even being proposed is like a crazy idea. It's pretty substandard, and we're already foregoing a lot of things that we would need to do to like keep up with other districts. So this isn't really a big ask when you think about it big picture, because like it or not, folks, if you hate the idea of Fairmont dying off and no longer having the middle school in Fairmont, like that'll be Geneva one day if we continue to ignore upgrading these.
That's kind of the fear, unfortunately. Now, T, do you like this
fear,
one?
That's reality.
Or this one?
That's reality. So I haven't watched these, but this was the most recent, and I think this is probably this was 8 days ago, so this would have been before the last high school meeting. So let's all learn together, folks.
We're all going to learn together. Bond election update with Mr.
Hi, this is Josh Kumpson. I just wanted to go ahead and remind you that this Sunday, February 23rd, we will have another community meeting, informational meeting, this time at the high school at 2 o'clock. to come out and to hear a little bit more about the bond project. There will be a time for some questions, and then there will be a time for a tour. So you know, we've already done this twice. We did it at the elementary school, and we've done it at the middle school, and it's going to be the same presentation. So if you've already been to one of these, you don't have to come to this one, but you're more than welcome. If you haven't come to one of these previous meetings, we would love to have you a chance to ask some questions. Again, that's going to be this Sunday, the 23rd at 2 o'clock. Also this Sunday, we've had some other people reach out and they've asked questions if they could see the middle school. So from 4 to 5 o'clock at the middle school on this Sunday, we're going to open it up, and it's just going to be an open house. There's not going to be a presentation, so you can just come, walk around, look at it. There'll be a couple of us there to help answer questions, but again, that's just another opportunity. I want to thank everybody who has already come to one of these meetings. I think we had about 100 people, both at the elementary and at the middle school. I've also had a number of people who have reached out to me or to a board member and have asked more information, and we've had just some really nice conversations. We're trying to get that information out as people ask it. So again, if you have questions, you can attend one of those meetings. You can contact us. Another way you could do that is our bond election website. If you haven't been there already, hopefully you'll be able to find it. If you can go to our normal website, there is a link that you can click that will take you to the bond election website. On that, you're going to be able to go all the way back to some of the very first meetings that we had, and you'll get to see the charts and the diagrams that have kind of followed about the project. The project has morphed several times as they've had community feedback through the surveys and also questions and comments that were gathered at these community meetings that were held earlier in the process. Another way that you can do this is we do have a YouTube channel. We have filmed quite a few of hopefully informational snippets about different parts of the process of how the board decided to go with this project, what the project entails, and then finally the finances behind the project and how that works. Another feature of the bond election website, there is a tax calculator that you can put in your valuation, and it will help you to understand if this passed, what that would actually mean for you financially. Again, several ways that you can find information. We'd love to have you come on Sunday to the high school at 2, or if you're interested in looking at the middle school, that's at 4. If you have any questions, please continue to reach out. We'd be glad to answer your questions.
Yeah, so that pretty much covered everything we've already talked about.
Yep. But now,
again, if you haven't, calculator's important. A lot of the breakdown's important. And again, I've got some of the more itemized numbers. So
I got some better videos, by the way, that I found. One is a project overview, and then one is, two project overviews, one with the superintendent and then one with Kristen Lovegrove. So we're going to go with, this is the original video that basically announced this whole bond issue, if you will. And, I want to give them their fair day in court. Now, the other side doesn't have all these videos where it's like, no, don't, corn. Like, I don't know what I don't know what the advertisement would be, but that would have to be pretty close. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, if you haven't voted yet, this is what you're voting for, folks.
But yeah, I want to get this
here
one.
You go.
Definitely the one with Kristen in, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Josh Cumpston, and I serve as the superintendent of Fillmore Central Public Schools. I want to speak with you for a few minutes to try to help explain a little bit about the bond election that's coming up. Beginning probably mid-February, and you'll start receiving ballots in the mail. Those are due by March 11th. On December 16th, the Fillmore Central Public School Board approved and adopted a resolution calling for a special election to be held to issue school bonds not to exceed $48.8 million in order to finance cost of additions and renovations in the district. These additions and renovations, there are several steps to that. The first one is a new middle school addition that would be put onto the southwest corner of the high school. It would be a 2-story addition, and this is done because as the board looked into this, as we had community meetings, there were surveys sent out, staff was interviewed. One of the things that really came through is that people appreciated the way that the middle school is set up. That is that the grades 5th through 8th are separate from some of the other grades. They have their own area, but also that 5th and 6th grade is on one side of the building and 7th and 8th grade is on the other side. One of the things that they really tried to do is keep the same school within a school feel. And so the 5th and 6th grade would have one floor, the 7th and 8th grade would have the other floor. Each floor, they'd have their own classrooms, they'd have their own locker rooms, their own restrooms, and even a commons that they could use. This will enable the 5th and 6th grade to continue to keep its identity, and the 7th and 8th grade to keep its identity in the school within a school design. Another thing that would be part of this project is to upgrade the high school classrooms, bring everything up to almost new status with flooring, lighting, and making sure that they are updated. Another piece of this would be on the northwest corner of the high school would be a new gymnasium. Now this gymnasium would have a main court with bleachers, but it also would have, if the bleachers are pulled back, it would have 2 full courts running cross court with a curtain that could come down and divide. We'd be able to have host tournaments and host practices and be able to treat that like 2 separate gyms within one gym. That's actually more efficient to do it that way than to have all of these separate gym boxes with single courts. And so that's how it would be done. At the elementary school, there'd be a new safe and secure entrance put on. We'd pull up the principal's office, the nurse's station, and the secretary's desk and put those in the front of the building so that when we have visitors, they'd have to go into the office before they could get actually into the school. Another thing that came through surveys and talking with staff is that there weren't enough bathrooms in the elementary school. So where the current principal's office area is, all that would be turned into new ADA bathrooms. From now until Election Day, we're going to be trying to provide information to you and throughout the rest of the district in a variety of ways. Just like this video, we're going to attempt to put a video out starting January 27th, every weekday, that's going to go ahead and explain specific parts of the project. In the first week, we're going to talk about how did the board come to this decision and walk you through the process of all of the steps, the feasibility study, the master planning, the facility audit, the educational alignment piece, and kind of walk through that, some of the community meetings that were held and the surveys. In the second week, we're going to talk about some of the specifics about the project. So I went over it really fast, all the different things that we hope to do. It's going to be explained in a little bit more detail during that week. And finally, that third week is really going to focus in on the finances, how they would affect the district and how it would affect you, the patron, if this school bond would pass. Other ways that we're going to try to give you information is we are developing a website that is a standalone website for the bond election and for the project that you are going to be able to go to in order to get more information. You'll be able to find charts, you'll be able to find floor plans, you'll be able to find pictures. There's even going to be a calculator that if you put your valuation in, it would tell you what that would mean to you financially should this bond end up passing. Also will be a section on frequently asked questions. I think right now that total is up to about 13 questions that we have heard quite a few times asked. And so we'll kind of keep a running list of questions so that I'm sure if someone else has a question, it might be the same question that you had as well. And you'll be able to go there and find out more information. The board is planning to have 3 community meetings or open houses. They're going to do this 3 consecutive Sundays. So starting on February 9th and then the 16th and then the 23rd, those are Sunday afternoons that they will go ahead and we hope that you come out and hear more information and tour the schools. The first one will be at the elementary school. That'll be at 2 o'clock on the 9th. The second one will be at the middle school. That will be on the 16th at 6 o'clock. And the last one will be at the high school on the 23rd, and that's going to be at 2 o'clock as well. Something else, if you follow us on Facebook, we're going to have links to this information on our Facebook page. We'll have links to videos, and we'll have other information that you'll be able to keep up to date with this project as well, and hopefully learn as much as you want to learn about it. This project has its start in the summer of 2020 and has kind of continued through several stages with community input and involvement along the way. We hope to keep you up to date. We hope to communicate with you so you can understand the whole project. In the coming days, we'll have more information coming out on that bond election website and also on our Facebook page. I hope you'll go to those to learn more about this and for your information. And I'd encourage you to come to one of the community meetings. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a good way of explaining how we arrived here. But yeah, we've covered most of that as well. Again, I can't stress enough, like he talked about the tools available to us. Like, if you have not voted yet, like, and I assume that's why you're here, or you're watching this after the fact, or you went to a meeting. Like, this is important. You like, I encourage everybody to find out as much information as they can about this, because you should vote if you're eligible to do so based off of what makes sense to you. But don't vote because of social media anger or outrage. That'd be my best suggestion. A good comment here.
Yeah. Keith Broman goes, my father graduated from Fairmont in 1945, siblings in the late 70s and 80s. I graduated in the 90s with my children graduating in the 20 teens. We need to keep this school system updated and growing. So Keith, that's I gotta say, that's very big of you, sir. You are Fairmont born and bred. Your family went through Fairmont school system, and even you're like, no, we need to keep this system updated. That's I regardless of where you sit on either side of this, folks, like, no, like, the people of Fairmont are willing to make the sacrifice if it's something that the community wants. Okay, Andrew, do you have to be registered
Yes.
to vote for this? Yes, you
Yes.
do. Yes, you do.
And you've missed your window if you're not. Like, we talked about that on the first stream.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Like, this
Now,
is very much.
Chris, oh, go ahead.
No,
But-
just yeah, and don't let this be the hindrance of why you didn't register to vote. Like, because guess what? If this doesn't pass, you're going to get another chance at it.
I was about to say, and by the sounds of it, T, eventually there's going to be an opportunity to do the same with the elementary school here.
Well, I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of that bond money is going to have to go to the elementary. Like, and I'm pretty sure that we're already considering a lot of that. Like, I don't think that the entrance is going to be the big cost for the elementary with the bond. Like, it's going to be the plumbing. It just kind of has to be, and some sections of the roof. And if it's not, like, we have some problems.
Now, I definitely,
or we're going to have to dip severely into the building fund. Whatever it takes, like, these things have to be addressed, folks. Whether it's coming from the bond or the building fund or wherever, these things have to be addressed. And it doesn't matter what side you sit on this issue. Like, costs will be spent, money will be spent, tax dollars will go towards it, and they will be your tax dollars. So, do you want to pay new, or do you want to pay for Band-Aids?
I was about to say, for my fellow businessmen, keep in mind, we all know the principle of chasing good money after bad.
Yeah.
Okay, like, keep that in mind. Here's the thing, T. The reason why I seem as fair as I am on this is because I am very much of two minds. Okay, like, I'm kind of like, whatever the people decide, vox populi, that the will of the people. Whatever the people decide, I'll go with it on it, because I'm of two minds. Of yes, we can grow, but also, yeah, this is a tax hike. Okay, like, there's just no way you can. And Nebraskans are infamously NIMBY, so that's if this gets voted down, it's because this is taxes. Okay, like, that's why it'll get voted down if it does. Now, if it wins, I really pray that this actually turns out the way that the people who put it together. Now, T, I want to get into what Kristen Lovegrove has to say.
Okay.
I also want to get into, like, I'm going to give at least all of the members of the board at least one video, because there's like 20 of them, so we're not going to get to all of them. But I feel like I need to give Chad Engel a fair minute, because I've been a little unfair to him over the last few weeks, and so I feel like I need to give him at least his. And I also want to see how Nate Germis's video is, because I used to dog on him back in high school, so I got to see that. But without further ado, this is project description with Kristen Lovegrove. So I suspect this is going to be a little more precise.
Hi, my name is Kristen Lovegrove, and I'm a member of the Fillmore Central School Board. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the project overview regarding our bond issue that we are taking before the public this spring. After our community meetings and surveys, 3 things became clear to us. First, we would need over $51 million of critical structural, safety, and educational updates in the next 20 years. Second, certain aspects of the educational environment that we have are very important to our public, and it's a priority to keep it that way. And third, needs always exceed available dollars. So after weighing lots of options, designs, and possibilities, the project being proposed by the board is, in our view, the most cost-efficient way to address them. This project addresses the projected 20-year critical needs of our district while allowing for significant operational efficiencies every year. Included in this proposed project are a new middle school addition to the west side of the high school building. It's a school within a school design, which allows the 7th and 8th grade to be on one level and the 5th and 6th grade to be on a second level. This was a component that was expressed to our board that was a very, very important that we keep as we were considering solutions for these issues. This will allow our students to all be located on one campus, 5 through 12, that will provide significant operational efficiencies. However, the middle school students will still have their own space and area for them to excel in that school within a school concept. There will be renovations and upgrades to the infrastructure and classrooms of the existing high school building. When you look at the map, you will see a lot of changes in the room configurations. You will see the change in the location of the library so that it can be more effectively used by all students grades 5 through 12. And you will also see some changes to the front area and the commons that will more effectively serve both our public with ADA accessible restrooms and our students with a new cafeteria, commons area, and the movement of the arts, of the music and choir to a separate section of the building to efficiently maximize the space that they need. We do have a new competition gym that's shown on the north side of the high school building. This gym has 2 full courts when the bleachers are pushed in. This gym is about 700 square feet bigger than the downtown gym and the middle school gym combined. This gym also will have a heavy duty curtain that will allow the split between those 2 full-size courts. And that curtain will not serve as an out of bounds line, but there will be space on either side of that curtain so that those courts can efficiently be used for games and practices in our community. In addition, there will be a new secure entrance at the elementary school. This is a key component for safety and security of our students. And this is something that we must provide to our students and staff in that building. There will also be ADA code restrooms at the elementary school. As many of you have attended that site know, those restrooms are not really conducive to public use. And we're hoping that these changes will give us a lot more freedom and accessibility in our elementary school. As you can see, this is a major project. It will have enormous impact on our school for decades. I encourage you to learn more about this project through these slides and videos, and also by attending one of our community meetings. They are on February 9th, 16th, and 23rd. Thank you.
Which,
We've let's see, if by chance we could run across some donors, would they be able to write that off on their taxes? Now, Michelle, I tell you what, if I win the Powerball lottery between now and March 11th,
yeah,
we'll talk. Okay, I will talk to the school board.
If I win the lottery, like anytime in the next couple of years, literally, I will pay for half of this fucking thing, to put it frankly.
And then just call it Tony G's big old building. Like,
I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to put a portrait of me in one of the wings. Sorry, you just are. Like,
no,
but I feel like that's a fair price.
Jim's just gonna have a giant portrait of you painted on the wall, just like,
yeah.
It's like one of those,
and that's the thing,
like one of those old communists, like
no, it's gonna be
propaganda, like he's holding his fist while holding some wheat.
No, I want a Velvet Elvis painting of me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like
nice.
or like old school where they've got the Luke Wilson's portrait. The yeah, God. Yeah, you and me both. No, and I mean that wholeheartedly, because like we talked about this with McCool's community. Like, it's a town of like 500, yet they have a crazy amount of support with sports and academics, and people opt into that program because of its reputation. Shickley, if they needed a building, would just get it because a few people would come together. That's what's so strange.
Shickley is a town run by patrons.
Like,
that's a way of putting it.
And that's what's so hard about Fillmore Central Public School. It's a conglomeration of several towns, and none of them seem to like see eye to eye. But that's what you get with the consolidation. And when we're talking about like, well, why can't we get Exeter and Friend and Milligan and Shickley? And like, because you're asking for school boards to vote themselves out of existence, and you're asking for everybody to just coexist. And that's just almost impossible right now when everybody's kind of got their own ideologies, because when you can't even see eye to eye within the consolidation that you already have, like you can't bring more school systems in and hope that it's going to get magically better. It just
Now,
won't. Like we've got to keep up with the Joneses first and prove that we're like capable of sustaining that first.
Yeah.
And so far, like as a community, I'm sorry we failed. Like if you look at Shickley and you look at a McCool, like we're not keeping up with that. We're just not. I mean, whether it's because we don't have the pocketbook to do it or because we don't have the unity to do it.
The will.
Like we've got to find a way to thrive. And like I said before, like I feel like Geneva's done a good job in the last 15 years of proving that it does not just want to be a retirement community. It does want to thrive and become more youthful and build towards the future. But this is a very vital part of that. And yeah, I'm biased as hell. I live in Geneva. My kids would go to Geneva instead of going to Fairmont. Like this makes things very convenient for me.
I was
But
about to say for like 3 to 4 years of their school time, they just walk back and forth to your house some blocks rather than having to be bussed halfway across the county. Like,
but that's not specifically why I'm like, yeah, let's do this. It's because big picture, again, we're spending the money anyway. And I'd rather spend it on something that's long term as opposed to something that's going to be band-aid fixes until we have to pay for a big lump sum anyway. And by the time we have to pay for a big lump sum 5-10 years down the road, we're looking at triple the costs. And I'm betting the people that don't want to pay for it now really won't want to pay for it then.
Well, I mean, here's a very interesting reality that nobody really thinks about is in 10 years, our tax base is going to look entirely different than it does right now.
Absolutely.
In 10 years, like, remember when we were talking about on the politics show, in 10 years, all the people who run our politics are not going to be running our politics anymore. In 10 years, all of the major players are going to be either dead, retired, or pretty close to one or the other. Okay. Like that's where, and our tax base here in Fillmore County is going to be very different than in 10.
Sure.
And so like eventually, yeah, the cost is going to come due. We're going to see whether it's this generation or the next one that ends up paying the tab. But like you said, one thing that you said in our last get together was people wanting to move here, their kids wanting to move back here. That
is vital because hey, I'm doing my part. I lived in Lincoln for 3.5 years. I came back here. I've got 4 kids. They're going to go through this school system. Like I'm doing my part.
Like, yep, you did your part for the population. Like if
I'm
people
sorry,
think
but
that
it's
we're in a population crisis, Tony did his part. Now I want to play this video because Chad Engel, I feel like I've been a little unfair to him throughout this process. Like now, and so I want to try to extend an olive branch, but also like I'll never forget we were sitting in the gym in Geneva, and he goes, "This isn't just yes, no, Fairmont." I look over at you, Tony goes, I feel attacked. Like I feel like that was a little bit of a dig at some certain folk, but Chad, I do apologize. We'll still be meeting up at like Casey's and such once in a while, regardless.
So there will be no operational costs over the next 20 years if a vote. What?
No, I don't think anybody's made that argument. I'm just gonna be honest.
Who made that argument?
I don't think anybody.
I think we've actually made like the exact opposite of that argument.
It's going to be costly no matter what happens.
Like that's literally been my point over 2 live streams now. Like, have you not been listening?
Well,
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I'm not. I'm just afraid that's not the argument being made. But let's get into this video here. And I did speed up.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chad Engel, and I'm the president of the Fillmore Central Board of Education. And I have the next video in our series that we're putting forward to talk to you all about the bond project that we're putting out to a vote this spring. And My portion today is to talk a little bit about how we arrived at moving forward with the bond and approving one to send out to put in your hands for what the future of the district facilities are. And so I'm going to walk back a little bit here at the beginning of this to 2021, when the board at that time had, even before I became a member, had started taking a look at some of our facilities through a feasibility study. And that was designed to look at efficiencies, facility grades of all of our campuses at all of our locations. And even though it was set up for looking at mergers, which never actually happened, there was a lot of valuable information in that packet. And as we studied that as a board, we decided that we wanted to take a closer look at our facilities, and it hadn't been done for a long time. And we as a board, we went ahead and did a walkthrough that summer with all the building principals and with Superintendent Cumpston through each of our facilities, looking at what was really there, not just what you see if you come to a game or a concert, but what's behind the scenes in the utility rooms and in the basements and on the roofs and in the windows. And it became very apparent very quickly that we have some aging facilities that are going to require some immediate attention, and it's going to cost a lot of money. So that begs the question of what do we need to do? And none of us are structural engineers or draftsmen or carpenters. And so we decided to reach out to some companies of experts. Fast forward a little bit to 2022, when we reached out and finally had a contract with BBH and began doing feasibility studies, looking at the buildings, how they function, and how our staff feels about them, how the educational needs are met within there, and also just how they are structurally sitting in terms of the bones and foundations and roofs, and then really HVAC and electrical things that we're not up to speed with as board members. And what it came back with was there was an obvious need to take a real look at it. And it produced a question of what do we do? And so the question really comes down to, for the future of our district, and we need to think about not just 5 years and 10 years, but 15, 20, even 30 years in the future. What do we want it to look like? Do we want to ask our patrons and members of our district to invest in our facilities that we have, to bring them up to code and up to what they need to be today? At the end of that ends up being a large sum of money, and we still have facilities where our newest one is pushing 60 years old. Or do we look at renovations and maybe modernizing a little bit and becoming more efficient and maybe dropping our number of campuses down, which has led to what we have now that you see. So as you come and look at the project that we have presented to you, I want you to get your questions answered. We have several community meetings scheduled to come up. We have a series of more videos coming after this. But as you look at that, just know that as a board, we have to prioritize the education of our students first. Also, we're very aware of the tax asking of all of our taxpayers of our district and trying to balance that. But we also need to think about our community as a whole. What happens to the community often follows a school. What do we want our school to look like? What does that look like in 10 years? What does that look like in 20 years? Think about those questions. Think about what a yes vote means and what a no vote means and what you want our district to look at. A lot of work has been put into this. We feel like we have a really good plan. Looking forward to everybody coming out to our community meetings, get your questions answered, and tune in for more videos to explain where we're at in the process. Thank you.
Ben's following up here. No, a vote no, and this is off of this comment.
I kind of understand where he's coming from now.
No, I get it, and I want to expand on this. No, so there will be no operational costs over the next 20 years of a vote yes, which is obviously not the argument. No, a vote no would cost $51 million in operation costs over 20 years, so a vote yes will cost nothing in operation costs. No, and nobody's making that argument. Here's the thing. If we're going to vote no, and instead of getting the $48.8 million in bonds to do these upgrades, which are not just for upgrades and building a new middle school, if you went to a community meeting, you already know this, or if you've gone to the website, you know this. We're talking about also upgrading existing buildings to up to code and then some. We're avoiding some of those operational costs right there. Plus, the bond will be allowed to go towards those things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have the building fund that can address those operational costs.
Now, this one's a little
I get it. There's no perfect answer here because
this will address it because these are the infrastructure updates.
Yes, and hang on. Nobody's saying that if we vote yes, that all these other costs are going to go away. Like, you're going to have costs no matter what. That's not realistic. And you're going to have quadruple the costs if we don't start building new. So again, I feel like we've been at least I've been trying to make the argument of the exact opposite of that. I would rather build something new that is going to be long-term. It might cost a little bit more now, but if we don't have to pay for it 3, 4, 5 times over, it's probably better in the long run. And if we don't have an HVAC system falling on top of a classroom because the snow built up and melted what limited structure was left of the roof in a certain area, like these are things. There's always going to be unforeseen things that are going to happen that are going to be cost. Like you can't plan for that, but what you can plan for is the future, and that's the entire basis of this. If you build something new, if you upgrade something new now, you're not going to have to continue to fix it. And this was the argument. Had we done this stuff 10, 15 years ago, we talked about this last time. New K through 12 school systems are being built for under around $30 million because they got in before COVID, or they got their building plans in and all the things done before COVID and all that stuff happened. And then by the time it was done, like they saved twice as much as what we're looking at spending now because they were proactive, because that boils down to supporting your community in the future. But if you keep resisting, you're going to eventually pay for it tenfold. And that's the point. Operational costs are never going to go away. They just will not. So yes, you can scare people off with saying, no, well, it's going to cost us this much plus all this other stuff. Yep. And you know what? That 51.5 million is probably a conservative number because something else is going to come up and we're going to have to pay for that too. And we can continue to keep paying for it over and over and over and over and over. And that's kind of the point. So if you're not proactive, if you don't try to get ahead of things, eventually, by the time it's too late, guess what? It's too late.
Yeah. Now, like, I now have something from all of the board members that haven't gotten to speak yet, but this is Sean Farmer. He's, well, I mean, most of y'all know him. Let's be honest here. But this is the infrastructure updates. So, boy, they really love that theme song.
My name is Sean Farmer.
It's kind of like me.
I have been on the Fillmore Central School Board for 10 years. In my third term, second half of my third term. And I wanted to
speed this up a fret
with patrons of our district about kind of how we arrived at the facilities discussion that we're at right now, and kind of talk a little bit about some of the different needs that were developed for each of our facilities through the discussions with BVH. As most of you are familiar, we did a feasibility study with Exeter Milligan School District in 2021, and we had a study performed on our facilities at district to see how it would look if we consolidated with Exeter Milligan at that time. That consolidation did not work out, and so further discussion was had with the board about facilities needs and the future of our district. In 2022, we did a walkthrough of all of our facilities with kind of a new board makeup. We had a couple new members come on, and we kind of felt we wanted to do kind of an in-depth look at some of our facilities. We don't usually get to see behind the scenes and go through all the facilities, so we did do that. And in 2023, we signed an agreement with BVH Architecture to discuss further the needs of our facilities in the future and kind of come to a consensus on what we need to do to improve our facilities for the future. So BVH performed a full in-depth study of all of our facilities, completely grading them out, and they aligned them educationally kind of with our staff too. And then we were able to identify some of the critical areas that need addressing within our facilities. So kind of what I wanted to talk to the patrons a little bit about was, Fillmore Central is made up of 4 different facilities: the downtown gym, the elementary, the middle school, and the high school, and kind of talk about what BVH pointed out as critical areas of concern that we'll need to address with those facilities going forward. Starting kind of with the downtown gym, that's a facility that's not attached to our building. It's a standalone building that's attached to a building that we don't own. The downtown gym was built in 1954 through BVH's studies with the facility. It needs a full renovation mechanically and structurally. Other discussion we had about the downtown gym was that Fillmore Central uses it about 20% of the time. The remaining 80% of the time it's used by the city of Geneva with Park and Recs and some senior center activities down there. Moving on to the elementary school. The elementary school was built in 1964, and then there was another addition added on to the elementary school in 1992. Some of the bullet points with that facility would deal with, we've got some roofing issues there. I believe we've got 3 separate roofs on that facility. They're 16, 16, and 20 years old. So those are going to need attention sooner rather than later. They each had a 15-year warranty on them. Our electrical panel is going to need updated at the elementary school. Other interior things that will need addressed would be a priority of the board was to have a more secure entrance and move the administration offices at the elementary more towards the front of the building and then get our more vulnerable students away from that main entry. So that's part of the discussion of renovation that would happen there. And then the other area of discussion was bathrooms at the elementary school. Most of the restroom facilities for boys and girls are 2-stall facilities. It's when kids get done with lunch and we utilize the restroom before they go back to class, it's 2 in, 2 out. So kind of need some addressing of restroom facilities for ADA requirements and just more efficiency. Other areas would be updating furnishings within the elementary school. VCT flooring in the gymnasium and an entryway is all in need of replacement. Further LED light replacement in the building. Those are all things that need to be addressed internally. Externally, we have drainage issues there, and the blacktop on the north side of the building is in need of repair and replacement. And then the playground structure, which would be on the north side of the facility, is non-ADA compliant. So that's another thing that's going to need to be addressed in the near future. These are just bullet points about these facilities. You know, there are other things that need addressed.
I feel like they should have had us bring our cameras and shoot it.
The middle school. The middle school is a facility located in Fairmont. It's a 5-3 facility. Built in.
Should have mic'd him up proper.
3 buildings, 1964.
Gave him a cool theme song.
One was built, and then there is an older gymnasium structure within the facility that houses our library that was built in the 50s sometime. So it's a facility through the study with BVH that probably needed the most attention. When we did our walkthrough, we noticed that, you know, there's a lot of structural cracks in the CNU block foundation throughout the facility, internally and externally. There are flooring issues that need to be addressed. ADA bathroom compliancy on the west end of the building. The east end will need updating with the bathrooms there too. Also, all of our flooring.
I was kind of hoping there'd be a little bit like Kristen's was very descriptive.
Externally or exterior wise,
we learned most of this during the meeting. So
mortar joints that are cracking out.
Would you hate me if I hit the X button on this one?
No, I think it's fine. Like again,
Okay.
if you missed a meeting, like
Sorry, Sean.
this information is here.
Don't mess up my embalming.
No, like I said, like
remember our 20-year high school reunion? Like Sean also gets kind of the same award that Mike Brower gets. The guy who's planted more in the ground in this soil than anybody without a tractor. I mean, he does get that award.
Yeah.
Gotta give it to him.
So I guess I don't know. Let's round this out because like all the school board community meetings have closed. We're 11 days out from the deadline to turn your ballots in. And all I can really say at this point, like most people have already made up their mind, and that's fine. Like I'm not going to ask anybody to vote a certain way. That's just not what I do. That's never been my MO. Like I just ask that. Well, that's where we differ. I just ask that if you do vote, and I suggest you do, especially on local matters. I don't think if you're gonna vote on anything, register to vote on local issues, because those are the things that are going to directly impact you. And if you're going to, you need to have as much information available to you as possible and look at it unscathed, unbiased. Look at it short term and long term and vote that way. So that's the best suggestion I have. And I have a feeling this is not going to end here. I don't know if this is going to pass or fail, but it doesn't matter because eventually these are things that have to be addressed if it doesn't. So keep that in mind. This is not like a cash grab. This is not a money laundering scheme. This is something that all communities face. This is something that all school systems face because there's never enough money. Time is deterioration for buildings, especially ones that are filled with kids. There's no escaping this.
Yeah.
So eventually this stuff has to be addressed. And if you're not proactive, it ends up costing you more. And since we were not proactive before, we have to be proactive now. And if we're not going to be proactive now, it's going to cost us more if we're proactive later. And that's really the only thing I can say on it. But if you are a voter and you have gotten your ballot, make sure it is in by March 11th, dropped off, sealed
Yeah.
correctly, filled out properly, but vote with the information available to you. And if you need more and you feel like you still haven't gotten what you want to hear or need to hear to make that vote, reach out to us. We'll get it answered for you.
We'll do all we can to try to inform you in any way you can.
Yeah.
In any way we can, because this is our community. We're going to be living here. Like Tony,
Yes.
like I said, like not only are the school board
Vital.
people that, like, I'm going to bring this up again one more time. I'm going to reiterate some things, but something that needs to be reiterated. Many of the people on this board are going to be buried at the cemetery that's about, I don't know, somewhere from 8 to 12 blocks away from this school. Tony, you and I are probably going to be buried in that cemetery 15 blocks away from that school. Okay, this is something that is going to affect our community. Are we going to be in growth or are we going to be in decline? Like I said, like, here's the thing. I don't like the tax hike. I'll say that 100 times. But at the same time, perception is reality, and our community can choose. We can either die a little or we can die a lot. Okay, and so Fairmont, I am sad for you. My heart extends to you, but I thank you for the sacrifice you are being asked for. And I'm going to leave us tonight, T. And I'm going to say, all that being said, I'm going to leave us tonight with we got a little old lady at my church that's not doing very well. Her health is not doing well. I hope she pulls through. Her favorite Bible verse is this, John 14:1. And keep this in mind, community. Let not your hearts be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. Let not your hearts be troubled. No matter what, folks, we will live with each other. We will make it work. We will remain, as the Facebook group says, 34 strong. So God bless every last one of you. And I hope all of you make it back here to Big Buckin Empire and K.O.E Nation. Happy, healthy, much the wiser. You can, of course, find me, Phil K.O.E, at K.O.E Nation on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter. I'm very on brand. And I am signing off and handing it off to my indomitable broadcast partner, the one, the only,
Tony G. You can find me at all of my socials and podcasting iterations at Linktree/Tony the Raw. That includes the KOE Nation, the Dog and Chicken Show, Decoding the Unknown, Dads Worldwide, and whatever else we come up with that week, because we got a lot of things going on. Literally got a lot of podcasting things going on. I would love for anybody to check them out and give some feedback. So that's always a plus. But like, we're going to do this again for sure after the bond vote tallies come in.
and if they let us do it live when they're counting,
I don't think they're going to let us do that.
I know they're probably not. They're going to be like, Phil,
I don't think that's possible.
Like, it's like, come on, make a lot. Like, no, admit it. That would be drama. Okay, like we just keep the camera on the board as they put 2 up for yes, 2 for no, and just like, oh, like, come on, like that would be great. Like that, Tony. That's old.
It'd be lovely, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think they'll let us. I think we'll start setting up cameras. Like, Phil, just no. Like, that's, they're not even gonna call anybody. They're just gonna be like, Phil, just stop it.
But yeah, we're gonna follow up with this, and I know this was a rough night for a lot of people to get to jump in. So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people to watch this after the fact. Like, I know there were a lot of people that didn't get to watch it because of wrestling meet and etc. So if you watch this not live and after the fact, like, thank you. But if you have questions or comments that you wanted to throw in but couldn't during the stream, like, reach out to us and
drop them in the comments. I'll read them during the live stream vote count. Okay, like if you get any of those questions, I'll read them during the vote count if they let me.
Yeah, we've got, I mean, we'll if anything happens that we need to address, or if there's something that big comes up, like we'll come on again and explain it. But yeah, we'll get back with everybody after this is tallied up, because local politics matter, folks. If you're not registered, get registered and vote with as much information as possible. So this impacts everybody, and we all got to be cordial in the end.
Yep.
So,
like I always
that's what it
say,
comes down to.
peace. What a concept.
Catch you on the next one, folks. Like, share, subscribe.
And see if it just smooths itself out.
Back, tell you what I'll do. If I ever get back, I promise to refabricate you. Raging rivers of gold. That's what the brochure advertised. And now we're lost. We gotta take it down.